Okay, hi everyone. In this video is going to be a quick video of how to do HDR photos. So straight away on the camera, the settings, get the ISO as low as possible so that you've still got a good enough image quality. Aperture wise, don't go too small an aperture, otherwise you start seeing dust spots and they become a nightmare. After that, it's then have it so it's auto exposure bracketing. I would also advise shooting in RAW so you can play around with the white balance afterwards. Now the main thing about shooting an HDR photo is being in a location which has a high dynamic range. Here is a perfect example. We've got the sun beating down, making this area all bright. Meanwhile, we've also got a shadowed area of all these buildings, which is nice and dark. So with this, in taking 5 photos, I would say put it onto a tripod. However, I'm using this at 7 frames a second and I've got a vibration reduction lens on, so I can pretty much do this handheld. So let's just see. And one more example for good luck. Now it's time to head off and edit. Once back at the computer, check out your photos. Here's the 5 images on the screen. As you can see, it's gone from dark to being very bright. And if you look at the histogram, here totally blown out skies, and here quite a lot of information in the dark areas. So what we do is I've got Photomatics Pro, so I'll just select all of these and I go export to Photomatics Pro. Here I've got a whole bunch of options, and I did do it handheld, so I'm going to ask it to do some corrections. It was at ISO 200, so don't have any noise issues whatsoever, and reduce chromatic aberrations, yeah, I'll add that. So I'm just going to go export and let it go. I'm also going to do automatic deghosting. There was a person moving down in the background and there may have been a slight breeze that might have moved that, so I'll just select any one of the photos. It doesn't really matter which one it was, but I'm going to go for that one. I'm going to go for very strong, although that doesn't really need to be done, and I'll just double check. Right, yeah, that looks fine, and click OK. So on Photomatics Pro, here's the photo looking nice and HDR. We've got great detail in the clouds up here and loads of detail in the shadows of the building here, which, remember, if we go back to the original, just this image, look at that, loads of detail in the sky but barely anything in the actual dark areas here. So if we go back, we're quite happy with this. I would say it's a little bit on the blue side, so fortunately there is advanced options where I can change the temperature. So I'm going to bring that up to just a little touch, and I'll give it slightly warmer, maybe up to 1 there. You also have a whole bunch of options of what you want to use, whether I've got a whole bunch of selections I've chosen, or you can choose default, or you can go crazy styles with it. Generally, I would stay away from the surreal, the grunge, what's that one? Grunge to creative, and I would go more, stay with the default, and just play around with the image there. Generally, micro smoothing, I like that to be as low as possible because it makes it, gives it a little bit of a grainy feel. And white point is where I kind of bring up the brightness in general. So I'll bring that around about there, and gamma as well, just to make it a nice bright image. But otherwise, I'm happy with that. Color saturation, I've got it below 50%, maybe if I bring it up to about 60. It's looking a little bit vibrant there, but I'll go with that because what I do is when I go and save and import, it brings it straight back into Lightroom for me to do any further edits onto it there. So here we've got the edited photo. I would say still do some editing to this afterwards. For example, the shadows here, I've still got quite a blue tone, so I'm just going to bring a saturation down and just stroke the cobbles here because they're not meant to really have any color. Just put temperature so it's completely neutral, but saturation down, and exposure, I wasn't really wanting it to be any kind of brighter, but I'll just bring it there, and clarity maybe up a little bit. Again, with the whole image, I might bring the clarity up, just gives a little bit of a grungier feel. On a bigger screen now, looking at the white balance, maybe I just bring it up just a touch. Vibrance is okay. This is probably where I'd actually be working more the HSL levels. Saturation, maybe calming down the greens a little bit, but otherwise I would say the greens and yellows, I would say that's fine. But then I just whack on a whole pile of sharpening, so bringing it all the way up to about 60, 70 area, and just leaving it there. That's me pretty happy with the final image. So that's how I do HDR. What I will say though, is that I don't think you necessarily need Photomatic. So if I go for one of the images, this is one of the images which is in the middle. This is the second image, second dark image, and look at the amount of information in the histogram there. If I were to just do simple stuff like highlights down, like shadows right up, maybe vibrance up, clarity up, bring exposure up a touch, maybe also bring the brush in, make it a little bit warm, and if we just stroke this area and the side of the building, I think we can get it so it looks almost like an HDR photo very quickly. I'll make sure it's definitely, because the shadows are generally a little bit bluer, and saturation, keep that up, shadows up a good touch there. In general, bring the image up a little bit, vibrance up, saturation orange and greens and blues up, luminance of the blue down, and the other bits just up there as well. And eye sharpening up as well, and I would say that's probably not too far from the HDR. So that was just a very quick edit of a single image, which was that. So in fact there's a button I can press. So I can have it so it looks, so that's what the image originally came out of the camera, that's with a quick little edit of it, and then the HDR image, yeah, it's a different look. It's a different look. Let's see if I put them both side by side and click N. So on the left we've got my non-HDR single photo edit, on the right we've got the HDR edit. Is there much of a difference? Not really. Maybe the cobbles are a little bit better in this one now. The building away in the back though, I like the clarity that I've got in this. It's nice and bright on this one. However, it's up to you how you want to do your editing, but that's just a quick way that I do it. So I hope that helps. There you go. Oh, what I'll do is, just for fun, I'll show you the other photos that I did. So it was this one through to this one. So nice, same kind of exposure, very dark in the dark, very bright in the brights. Click them all, select, go to Export, Photomatic Pro. I'll go through all the same situation again. So pretty much the same image, and not really much ghosting required in this one. And straight away it's using the same settings as what I used for that last photo, and I'm pretty happy with that. I might just bring temperature up a little bit more so it is warmer kind of feeling, but yet just I'm happy with that. I'm not really gonna mess around with it too much. And back in Lightroom, I can see that it's added the new photo to the collection here, and I'd probably just do the same editing selections to it as well. So maybe just a little bit of, it's brightening up again, I don't need the brightening up, but definitely desaturation of the path, just a touch. But otherwise, I'm pretty happy with how that looks. The only thing additionally would be adding sharpening, and maybe now do a little bit of cropping. Maybe we don't need it that high up. Maybe we can bring it closer to the bush. And there you go. So that's my final image. So that's how to do HDR. Hope it helps. Bye bye.